Can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
So there is supposed to be a Graffle demo, and there's also the TLDR.
Oh,
There is stuff. There is stuff.
sweet.
There's also
Thank
was
you.
supposed to be a FlipFest update as well.
Ah, it's good. Somebody knows what's going on. Okay, good. Um, yeah, do that. Let's do that.
And then,
We'll do we'll do sign language for Kim.
I'm about to stream it onto Discord.
So remember, you got to do that weird thing with the volume, like right click on the frame on that tile and up the volume so you can actually hear it.
Give me a thumbs up when I can play. Cool. Everyone, just a reminder, turn up the volumes. And hey y'all, welcome back to another TLDR. This is the place to be to catch up on all your weekly updates in the Flow ecosystem. My name is Kim, and I'm the developer advocate for Flow, and without further ado, let's jump right in. The official home of the future NFL digital collectibles is on Flow. Yes, the rumors are true, and exclusive video highlight NFTs featuring your favorite football stars are coming to Flow. With over 300 million fans worldwide, adding the NFL to Flow's already vibrant ecosystem will accelerate our mission to put a crypto wallet in every pocket. When the experience launches, NFL fans will find themselves immersed in a world that celebrates their love for the game. Fans will be able to purchase and open packs featuring their favorite NFL players, show off their newfound digital NFT collections, and trade their moments. Make sure you sign up for the waitlist to stay on top of all the updates for the upcoming NFL platform. Flow's first generative art picture profile platform just launched this week on Sturdy.exchange, featuring the work of famous digital artist Some Hoodlum. His work has been circulating around hip-hop culture, featured on Drake's Instagram and 21 Savage's Spotify playlist, just to name a few examples. 5,000 hoodlums were minted, and within roughly 24 hours, the first drop on Sturdy Exchange sold out. Check out their platform for future drops, and if you got your hoodlum, let us see it on Twitter. Floaty is on the way, building an alternative to selling your Flow NFTs. Their platform will allow collectors to secure a short-term loan in exchange for an NFT as collateral. The smart contract will release the NFT back to the borrower if the loan is paid off, and if not, that NFT will be sent to the lender. Their team has laid out their reasons on why they chose Flow, and you can check that out in the link below. On to the DevX side of things, let's go over a recap on week 2 in the FlipFest. So far, nearly 400 developers have signed up for FlipFest. There are 17 issues that are actively being worked on across multiple teams. 11 submissions have been made, with 6 of them being already approved. There are still 10 issues available, with up to 50K up for grabs for a winning solution. And don't forget, you can still take on issues that are already taken if you want to compete for the best solution. And that's all for this week, folks. My name is Kim. Thanks for joining the TLDR. Make sure you sign up for the FlipFest, okay? And I will see you next week. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. So yeah, we have a demo from one of our amazing Flow ecosystem friends, partners, the Graffle team, I believe. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going, Albert?
Good. Really good. Really excited to hear and see your demo. So
Yeah,
do you want to take over?
Sure. So
Sweet.
just to give a little bit of background, Graffle currently, as we stand, we're launched in V1. We are a closed, I guess you could say, beta access at this point. Basically, we just want to have a meeting with you and understand kind of where you're at in your building process and the intention of using Graphel. So if anyone is interested after this demo, please reach out. We'll quickly get on a call through Discord or Google Meet and figure out if we can help you. Just a little bit of backstory about myself and Heroics. His name is Dakota. My name's Ryan. We started building a project just like Dune Analytics in fall of last year. And we basically started that journey by looking into the different SDKs. We both are deep in C#. So we actually made our own C# SDK and kind of went through that process and got our own channel in the Discord and just became more active members in the Discord itself. So through that, we kind of understood that everyone was having to build the same thing. And that's the kind of what we're calling, or where the V1 state is the event indexing service. And currently, as we sit, we are a hosted event indexing service. And now we're going to step through actually what that would look like and kind of the different features that we have now, and how V2 basically tears all of that down and completely changes everything about Graphel. So we are super excited to launch V2. And yeah, let me know if you guys can see that.
Are you sharing your screen right now? I don't think we can.
One sec. He started sharing in his Discord crash, so he'll be right back.
Oh no.
No worries. Hey, Pete.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Okay, cool.
Better
Looks
now?
like, yep, your stream is happening.
Cool. We'll refresh that. So the dashboard, very simple for right now. It just shows this is Flow's health. So it's essentially the milliseconds response. So you can see when the chain is experiencing some sort of latency. And we'll just get right into it. So on the left side, you have a environment switcher. So if you're familiar with Stripe, kind of in the same vein, where you can switch from testnet or test data to mainnet. That's kind of how we essentially set up our switcher. We want you to be able to build on testnet and mainnet, but have those separate. So the first step always is to create a project. So we'll just do demo test, just a description and project name, and we will now have a project. So this is basically the bread and butter, is the events. So we're going to actually go in and add an event. And for this demo, just because we want to test out the webhooks, we're going to use Top Shot's moment listed event. Sorry, that goes here. Event name, let's just call it Top Shot test. And we use a site called Webhook Site, which basically can receive webhooks. And it's just a quick way for us to test. We also have the ability to put in a cadence script, which allows you to pull out metadata. And you can also add arguments to pass in from the block data to that cadence script. So let's submit that. And now we have one event, just our Top Shot test event, that's looking specifically for this Top Shot Market V3 moment listed, and it's going to send it to this webhook. We also have streaming, which is through SignalR, kind of like web sockets, if you would. And that's essentially so you could stream any of this data from that singular event to your website. And now we'll switch over to this webhook site. This is just a service that we use. It's free up to 500. It's like $14 a month. Would highly suggest it if you're testing anything with webhooks. And you'll see that we actually got some moment listed events that were pushed through to our webhook. And that's basically the gist of V1, is you can set up these events and you can push them to your webhooks. Now, the other part about this, and I will spotlight another community member in Versus, is they're actually leveraging what we call Graphel Search. In Graphel Search, I'm opening up another tab here, is our APIs. They're APIs that are hooked up to this aggregated data. So this exact data, in this case, this is Top Shot. In this example of the API, it's actually Versus. You'll actually see the data that they're indexing. And this is a great example of essentially someone who wants to be serverless. They don't want to have APIs. They can just tap in directly to ours. We aggregate and store those events, and now you have the ability to sort and filter by all sorts of things. So maybe we care about a certain transaction through on Versus's platform. So all you have to do is add a query parameter that's transaction ID, put in the transaction ID, and now you have that specific data, or a bid history of a specific user. Let me put that in really quick. So that would be bidder. Sorry about that. There's a space there, maybe. There we go. So this is the history of this specific bidder, 85963. So this is everything you can see that they bid on this waypoint by After Future. They bid on Reborn. So you can see how you could easily construct somebody's profile, a bidder's profile, without actually having to build any APIs or backend or database yourself. We can also look directly at drop ID. So the last drop that they had, or one of the last drops they had, we can see all of the different activity here. And that also could build a history page for their bids. And this is really, Graphle Search is in a very beta state, especially the APIs. The webhooks and the webhook processing and all of that is about to be released into V2. And I guess that's kind of where we'll kind of steer the conversation is V2 is currently in test. There's a couple things that are kind of taking priority right now for the next 2 weeks, but V2 essentially, I would say in the next coming 3 to 4 weeks will be out in entirety. And that's going to completely change how we think about events and how we interact with those. So currently right now, you saw me set up a project, an event indexer. And that event indexer is singularly tied to an event you want to aggregate or index. With the way we're doing it now is we're actually relationally graphing the entirety of both testnet and mainnet. And what that means is no longer are you going to have to tell us what events you want to listen to. You just have to tell us what events you care about, which ones you want sent. And that can be through every event under a contract. It could be every event that imports non-fungible token in the contract. It could be everything on Flow in entirety. So now you can see that since we're doing this full relational graphing, you have the ability to see everything and have a better, I guess you could say, directive on where those events goes, whether it's to webhook or through the API. We're going to come out with REST API that is linked up directly to the graphing functionality and kind of make it very extensible. So now you could see, okay, we showed you how Versus was essentially indexing bidder events and marketplace transactions. Well, now they would have the full scope of everything that's happened, and those would all be edges in the graph that you could go into and actually use to build a robust set of APIs or leverage our API to build a robust set of functionality. And you no longer have to have this database or any backend or anything. You can be completely serverless in that sense. So we're very excited to launch that. And we are actively adding more and more people every day to the platform. So if you guys are interested in using Graphle or you think it would be useful, let us know. All of our features and everything that's coming soon is all driven by the community and interactions we've had with projects. So, for example, we're talking to a couple of people who are developing games, and they really need a system kind of like if this, then that, if you guys are all familiar, where if something happens on chain, then we emit an event or we send something to their API, or vice versa. If they call one of our APIs, then we can actually emit an event on chain. So imagine completing a quest in a game and then a NFT is actually minted and sent directly to your wallet. So you basically just have the game, they complete the quest, and now it emits that event, and Graphle handles that for you. So a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. And yeah, we're also doing, just in case anyone here is actively deployed on mainnet, we're doing the Flowverse Graphle leaderboard, which we need as many projects as we can get for. It's essentially going to be like a crypto slam or an OpenSea rankings for Flow and all of the projects that exist on that. So if you're interested in getting your project on there, definitely contact us as well. Thank you. We're also open to any questions at this point too, if anyone's curious.
Can I ask you if you have already some pricing plans for different amount of events or how the pricing structure is going to be?
Yeah, so just based on a lot of things that are moving very quickly on the Graphel side of things, the business side, everything is free to build on right now. Testnet will be free in entirety. Mainnet will come with a SaaS fee plus usage. We currently aren't there yet to implement any sort of pricing, so anybody who gets access now will,
everything that you've been working on so far and the stuff that has yet to come. I'm going to have to bid everybody adieu, and I'm going to pass the mic over to Pete, who has some FlipFest updates. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you, Albert. How's it going? So I'm going to try to share my screen. Hopefully it doesn't crash my Discord. Cool. How's that? So this is just a quick update on FlipFest. I'm going to go through some of the bounties that are already being worked on, highlight a few of the teams doing the work, seeing we have some of them on the call, which is awesome. But also going to touch on a few that haven't been picked up yet, in case anybody is looking to get in. But yeah, so if you haven't seen FlipFest, it's Flow's first build-a-thon. We're calling it a build-a-thon and not a hackathon because, well, A, it's a month and a half long, and we're trying to give people more or less lots of time to produce like high-quality work, robust code. We're not trying to rush anything. So yeah. But yeah, if you want more details, check out the README. And if you want to look at the backlog, everything is here in the Issues tab. So let's take a look at SDKs. I think we did an update on this one last week, but there's been a bit of movement. So Hao and Ryan, they're working on a Swift SDK, along with Dennis, actually. And from what I'm seeing, that one's been going along pretty smoothly. They're doing sort of like 3 libraries: the base Swift SDK, Swift or FCL for Swift, and then sort of a separate wallet utility library for anybody who wanted to implement a wallet in Swift. I think that's a really good sort of breakdown. Got Nico's Ruby SDK. Is Nico on the call? Awesome.
Yeah.
I saw you put up a PR for that. Is it ready for initial review?
It is, and it's been merged already. I've been away on holiday and I've been off grid in like the bush. So no comms, no computers, but I'll do some work on it this weekend.
Hey, no problem. Enjoy. That was the milestone 1 PR, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to seeing the rest. Yeah, and we got 2 teams working on C++, which is really cool. And then one update we made here is, so we created a separate issue for improving the existing Python SDK. So if you're working in Python, you don't have to do it from scratch. We have started some code, but it just hasn't really been brought fully up to spec. So Yanez is actually the original author. Is Yanez on the call here today?
I am.
All right.
I'm here.
Awesome. How's it going? Yeah, so this issue is, it actually lists the kind of outstanding missing parts in the Python SDK. So it's a tier 2 because it's not like you need to build an SDK from scratch. But if you want to work in Python, definitely check this one out. We just added it 4 days ago. And some updates on Nft Metadata. So we've got 2 flips in review. One from Team Non-Fungibles and one from Chance. And the other update is that so Glenn Brown, he's helping us as an advisor for sort of the general metadata problem. He used to work for Creative Commons and has done a lot of digital standards work in the past. So he's actually setting up time with each of the teams just to go through their solution and more so talk about how it could be used for like further problems like NFT rights and royalties. So I'm looking forward to seeing sort of how those conversations pan out, and hopefully it'll lead to some good kind of insight. Glenn's also talking to kind of teams throughout the community about like how the metadata standard can be used and making sure that all the use cases are being met. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one's fun. So, do we have Matt? I think I saw Jules on the call. So Jules and Matt have been working on a feature for the playground. So if you haven't seen the playground, it's a web-based IDE for Cadence. You can create a project, share a link to that project. But right now, when you click on a link to someone's project and you open the page, there isn't really anything there telling you what the project is or how to use it or any sort of like introduction. So we thought it'd be really great to have a README feature, kind of similar to a README on like a Git repository on like GitHub or GitLab. Sorry. And I actually saw a demo of it from Matt the other day, and it's looking really, really awesome. So yeah, great work, Jules and Matt.
Yes.
And then there was another one that had some updates. Oh yeah, this one. So if you use the emulator, you'll know there's no automated way to kind of like pre-deploy contracts. So if you're kind of frequently restarting the emulator and you have contracts you need to use, you have to run a script to deploy them all. So this has been a feature request we've gotten quite a bit, actually. It's like, could you start up the emulator and just sort of specify the contracts you want to have on startup? So Zen picked this one up, and they've been sending updates in Discord, Team Flashy taggers, which I like. But you can see it's actually working here, and there's a PR up, so we'll take a look at that one shortly. But I think this will be a really, really great feature. Let's find one more. Oh, here's the event indexing service that Graffle was just talking about. So I won't go through the spec here because they just described it. But it's more or less a service you can run that sends events into your application. You can see here there are a few teams have signed up, including the Graffle team. So looking forward to seeing what everybody submits. Any questions about any of the sort of ongoing tasks so far? If not, I'll get into some that haven't been claimed yet. Cool. So I don't believe that this issue has any takers yet. Yeah. So this one's a tier 2, meaning the bounty prize is a bit higher. The complexity is maybe a little bit higher, or might require more time than a simple bug fix. So if you use the dev wallet, you'll notice that it more or less emulates the behavior of wallets like Blockdo on testnet and mainnet. You can sign in and kind of choose different accounts and whatnot. But one feature we've been working on in FCL is the addition of OpenID. So OpenID is just a standard for representing like identity and profile information. And one problem we've been hearing from mainly app developers is they want to kind of build a user profile when somebody signs up for their app. But when you log in with your wallet, all you get is a Flow account address back. And so some applications will kind of have like 2 sign-ons. One where you sign in with your wallet, and then one where you create sort of a separate account for that app. That's a pretty sort of a bit of a redundant UX, if you know what I mean. And so we think something like this could actually facilitate more like a single sign-on experience. So rather than having to log in with your wallet and then log in with another account, you would just go to an application, log in with the wallet of your choice, and then you could optionally allow that wallet to share like a common username with the application. And then the application could just sign you right in, kind of build up your profile without having to give you additional login fields or that kind of thing. But the OpenID implementation in the dev wallet is super minimal right now. So for developers who want to make use of this on the application side, it's hard to do so using the emulator and using it in development mode. So this ticket is all about just improving the OpenID implementation on the dev wallet, really looking at the UX there and trying to experiment a bit, honestly. So yeah, if you're interested in this one, check it out. It makes use of mainly TypeScript and JavaScript. The dev wallet itself is a Next.js app. So if you're familiar with Next, this would be a really, really good one. So here's a tier 3. So this one's project scaffolding. And the idea here is to add a command to the Flow CLI to quickly spin up an empty Flow project. So it's kind of similar to like the Create React app tool for React, where you just run the command, maybe you specify like a project name or some config, and it would output a boilerplate configuration, kind of like a empty or placeholder folder structure, and maybe install some basic tools for you. The idea being that you could do that, click run, you could have like a starter Flow app up and running, and hopefully really cut down on the like onboarding time. So the scope of this issue is you don't have to build out the full scaffold. That's why it's a tier 3. You can see here we have like a sample scaffold you can pull down. The idea is you would sort of just bring down the template from a Git repository. So the work here is really just like setting up the wiring in the CLI to make that really seamless. Any questions about either the OpenID issue or this one? Cool. So I'll pull up one more here. So this is another tier 3 that hasn't been claimed. And so tier 3s are, it's a $5,000 bounty. So even though it's a lower tier, it's still a pretty decent prize. So this one is, it's actually a pretty interesting feature. Maybe it doesn't sound like it, but it's the idea that you would be able to preserve state between different runs of the emulator. So right now, if you start up the emulator with the CLI and then you stop it and then you start again, it'll kind of refresh the state. It'll clear everything from the previous run. You can put it into persistent mode, but when you do that, it really only lets you have like save to one file. So every time you start it up, it's going to load the same version. And the idea here is to make that a bit smarter and allow the CLI to kind of create and save emulator profiles. So you could have like emulator start test 1, right? And then you could set up some things, and then you could do start test 2, and that would be a fresh version of the state. But if you wanted to go back to test 1, you could specify that. And we think this could be definitely helpful for testing if you're kind of like maybe A/B testing between 2 versions of your contract, or even just trying to test different scenarios. And so the emulator itself should have everything it needs to do this, and this would just be sort of making the CLI a bit smarter and having it know where to find those different versions of the blockchain state and switching between them. Yeah, so if you know Go, or if you want to learn Go, this is a good one. The CLI is a pretty fun tool to contribute to, and quite a few people have already, actually. So yeah, if you're interested, definitely check it out. And for any of these, if you have any questions, about any of the existing issues or the new ones, just drop a comment. We'll respond right away. And even like if the description isn't clear, or even if you have like other ideas, we'd love to hear them. Things are pretty flexible, and we can still add new bounties. So yeah, take a look and let us know what you think. I will stop there. I think I taken up enough time, but I guess we can turn it over to just any general questions. Does anybody have any questions about FlipFest in general? Luca?
My question, hi Peter. My question is not related to FlipFest, so I was waiting if somebody had FlipFest related questions.
Cool. Yeah, if anybody has a FlipFest question, now's the time. But if not, we can just jump into general questions about building on Flow.
Okay.
Cool. I think you're good to go, Luca.
Okay, I'll go then. So yeah, like I was saying before, I managed to find a way to sell packs directly on chain with FCL. So I'm gonna go down this road, and I'm planning to contract Qt to create a queuing system before the drop, and hopefully there will be a lot of people participating. So my question is, since I'm gonna sell packs with FCL and I won't have any server backend interaction at all with the chain, so it's everything gonna go through FCL. How many users can I let through the queue at the same time in parallel? Like 10, 100, 1,000? Since there is no bottleneck on the backend because I don't need to do anything. What do you recommend?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the user would, once they're through the queue, they would
execute a transaction with a specific key that I pass them that basically will allow them to make the purchase. But it's going to be a transaction with FCL just like any other.
I see. Okay. So they still go through FCL, they still sign with their wallet.
Yes.
Yeah. So for a drop scenario like that, it's hard to say because the number of users you let through the queue doesn't directly translate, or it does translate to kind of the output. It's more about like how many transactions are you sending consistently, right?
Yeah,
so
in parallel.
Yeah. So you can definitely, if you have, there's nothing on your application side that should stop you from sending transactions in parallel.
Yeah.
Because the wallet will handle all the sequence number collisions and that kind of thing. So I would say that like you probably maybe 10 to 50 at a time, depending on kind of what your flow is. Like, do you know how long it would take for one person to like go through the actual purchase flow? Like, is it just they go in?
It's just click one button and execute the transaction. I'll approve the transaction and that's it. That's the only thing they have to do. I pre-check before if they have enough FUSD, if their if their account has all the contracts and everything. So the collections and everything. So yeah, it's literally just one button click.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start with 10, 20 and see how it goes on mainnet, and yeah, I'll make more tests later in any way.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Let us know because it's kind of new, and then I know the Blockto team is also working on some queuing solutions, so it might fit in nicely with that. But yeah,
Nice. Didn't know that. Thanks.
Do we know what kind of a concurrency level Top Shot does?
I can kind of talk to that. I don't know exact numbers, but I do know that they monitor everything and they're like updating them live. So like if they're starting to see certain times and stuff like that, they pull them back, and if their numbers go a certain way, they like push them forward. Yeah, so they're really like their drops. They probably have like they have a heap of people kind of all doing stuff at the same time. It's really like yeah, they've done a lot of tooling around that from their side, internal tooling.
Cool. Thanks.
But in theory, the Flow blockchain, how many concurrent transaction can handle with FCL across all the contracts, all the network? Just to have an idea if it's like 1,000 or 1 million or 100.
I don't actually know the benchmarking there. I know that like projects like TopShot, they'll have upwards of 200 parallel proposal keys, meaning that in theory they could have 200 sort of transactions in flight from one application, and that's been handled smoothly. But network wide, I'm actually not sure what that metric would be. But I think it would be quite high actually, because the throughput there, it should be the case that if there was a delay, that the transactions would sort of just queue up in the blocks. But yeah, I'd say like at least probably 500 now. That's sort of just a rough guess.
Yeah, we like the numbers that like when we see like things like drops not going well, it's like back like a year ago when like Top Shot was first starting out and stuff like that, we were definitely seeing the chain being the bottleneck. But now the things that we're seeing are the bottleneck are not the chain, and so we've been opening up some of those limits for some of those partners to hopefully see. So like we're sort of experimenting on, hey, what can it safely handle there, but we don't have any concrete numbers right now.
So in my case, using FCL, the bottleneck would be probably Blockto, because ultimately they would execute the transaction.
Yeah, kind of like what happened with the Chain Monsters drop. We had requested from Blockto a sort of a limit from them, and they, being good citizens, I guess, respected that, and they just got also smashed from like a whole bunch of other directions at the same time, which meant that people couldn't log in, and yeah, it was a mix of things, but there was definitely part of that was a limit that we had requested from them. It wasn't the only problem that they had that day, but it didn't help either. So we're working with them to see like bigger numbers and stuff like that, opening it up a bit more.
Great.
Yeah, we work really closely with them to yeah.
It would be, I think last week someone suggested maybe using that as a case study. That would be really interesting to understand what happened there.
Yeah, they were doing like just it was almost like a DDoS, like a coordinated DDoS thing. They were getting smashed by like thousands of requests a second from multiple different places, and when they blocked a bunch of IPs from being able to hit them, they were able to function again. It was the main problem they hit. Yeah.
Was that malicious traffic or was it legit just unfortunate?
Who knows? It's so hard to tell. Yeah. Yeah, and we have a bunch of people, like their entire job is about making the chain go faster and stuff like that, and the chain is noticeably faster almost every spork. So any numbers that were said today could be different a month from now or a month later and stuff like that. It really is definitely improving in that like in a good direction for that stuff. It's really good to see from our side that, yeah.
It's awesome, man. On this topic, and just speaking about being a good citizen, is there some kind of rate limit that we should be looking at for testnet? Or can we just go crazy?
I'm not the one to ask about that. I don't think I'm a very good citizen on testnet. I'm probably not the one to talk to you about that. If anything, I'm the one that should be scolded.
So I'll take that as a no until you put up an announcement in Discord. Then
We'll get back to you.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're coming up on time here, but does anybody have a final question they want to ask before we wrap up?
Well, I have a small one. Maybe you have a quick answer. Do you know if there are any contracts, as an example, for voting system? Like I want to create a question and I want to allow people that hold a certain NFT in their wallet to vote on something.
I think there might be. The person who would know is Josh, and I don't think he's here. We can follow up about that, Luca, because I think there's a
Thank you
for voting. Yeah.
Thanks.
I also think the Decentology people have been looking into a bunch of stuff like that as well, so they might be
nice.
good to talk to you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Maybe not exactly that, but I know that they're thinking about those sorts of things.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, we're at time here, so fortunately it's time to wrap up. But thanks again for joining this week, and hopefully see you again next week.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Have a great weekend.
Bye.